All right, it's time. It's time for me to tell you everything that I've learned so far for Taric in the jungle. And actually, I'll do Taric in other roles as well. Um, Obviously, Omni is now gone. And the Omni Stone build, the idea behind it is now replaced by Predator. But we're not going to think about Predator and we're not going to think about PTA. Both are good builds. PTA is still good, and the Predator, which was Omnistone, right? Omnistone's gone. That's that's still good, right? Predator and PTA, but we're gonna focus on Lethal Tempo and Glacial because both of those are beyond disgusting, and it's kind of insane actually how crazy these are. So we're gonna do Lethal Tempo first, just because of how ridiculous it is. Whether or not you take Triumph or Presence of Mind is actually going to be based on what items you want to go in game. If you want to stack more than just the tier item, if you want to go Frozen Heart or something on top of that, you're going to want Presence of Mind now. You want to take double adaptive now instead of attack speed because of how this rune works. And if you're in the jungle, you're still going to want Alacrity because you still need to clear camps. But if you're top lane, you might actually want to even just skip the Alacrity, or even if you're a support, you'd go Tenacity and then you'd grab like an MR or CDR or something. But this is for jungle, so I'll try to focus mostly on jungle since I'm just going to tell you literally everything that I know and then just upload that kind of raw. There are a lot of different things you can do. Taric should be in a good spot this season, but I'm kind of concerned because even though New Lethal is really good on Taric and New Glacial is really good on Taric, both of these runes are even better on different champions, right? But that doesn't change the fact of how ridiculous some of this stuff is. So watch this. Level 1, we have 0.64 attack speed. Okay. Alright, sure. 0.64 attack speed, what does that mean? Not much, right? Oh, we can't, we took double adaptive. How doomed are you? Let's say you're getting invaded at your red buff, and all of a sudden, hey, the enemy shows up and they want to fight you, and you just say, okay, sure.
Bask in the glow.
Like, it gets so fast that you almost hit the attack speed cap at level 1. You have double adaptive. You have double adaptive rune stats. And you have only Alacrity, right? And so, level 1, you will nearly hit the attack speed cap. Just think about how ridiculous that is, right? And it literally gets so, it gets so crazy, right? That you have so much attack speed that you can't even... Like, your Q doesn't even come off cooldown fast enough to reset it. Right? Get yourself a little bit of ability haste and this becomes a lot easier, but, like, the biggest thing is that, if you're in the jungle and you're clearing, oh, you wish you could clear that fast all the time, but on camps, that's not going to apply. So you're still going to have normal clear speed, at least normal-ish. It's going to be a little bit slower because you should take double adaptive instead of that attack speed normally. Just because, once again, you're going to overcap. You could argue still that you want to take attack speed, not double adaptive, because it will hurt your clear speed to take double adaptive. But either way, it leaves lots of options open, right, for Taric. And, like, just imagine how fast you can like, I don't know how to explain this, but what you want to build for Mythics, what you want to actually go, is going to be a little bit, like, preference-based, because it's going to open the option of going early AD. If you go something like... okay, so first, you don't want attack speed, right? Because Lethal is already giving you too much attack speed. So items like Stride, items like the Mythics that are on hit, even something like Trinity Force is too much because this attack speed is going to be wasted. You don't want it because Lethal is already giving you the overcap attack speed. So the only AD, like, potential ones you'd want to go are something like Eclipse, Gore, and Divine, probably. I don't think you'd want to try any of the other ones. Now That's if you want to go more of a carry. If you're looking to, be a support in the jungle, you're going to want to try things, of course, Shirelia's, of course, this, even Shroud, and, also Chem Tank is pretty good too. I should go into a few of the extra things there, but maybe I should do Glacial with Shirelia's, but even Lethal Tempo with Shirelia's will be good, because the biggest issue that Lethal Tempo has is that you attack so fast, it's not very easy to kite, right? So like if you have normal attack speed and you want to ability auto move, ability auto move, ability auto move, you can do that fairly easily, at least somewhat generally, if you're fighting something like that. But if you are fighting an actual champion,
Rest easy.
it becomes a lot harder to actually move and fight at the same time, just because of how ridiculous, once again, the attack speed you have is. Like, I'm moving like that, but I'm still losing out on attack speed. Also, one thing to remember with this, it's going to help you in these fights if you're taking Lethal Tempo, is that your E doesn't actually have an animation. Your Q, your W, and your R all have animations. So that's why whenever you do this, it looks so bad, right? But if you do this, look at that. Doesn't that look clean? You can get a good 6 autos off if you do Q, Q auto, E auto, Q auto. Right? That's going to be like, you are going to be able to do ridiculous damage. And this is just for, jungle, but Taric top is now going to be decent. And Taric support could even potentially run this, but you're probably going to want to run Glacial in most times in support. But still, it's kind of good. And I need to get to, there's so many other things, right? Let me focus a little bit more on items for a bit here. So I talked about, what mythics you should go. Even Shroud is pretty disgusting. You immobilize people, they take damage. That's going to be good on support. It's going to be good on, even jungle. I've tried it jungle, and it was pretty good. I need to, I tried it on the PvE, so once you get into high elo again and, you try it with people that, are good at the game, this with Glacial is probably crazy. You could probably even run it with Lethal, but I don't know. You could run it with either. Like, both are good. And Chem Tank is really interesting now because it has this weird scaling. If you look, it has this weird scaling where it actually has a magic damage percentage based on your movements. So when I was clearing with this, here, I'll just kind of, buy it and show it off. Might as well. When you're farming with Chem Tank, right, the biggest thing about Chem Tank is it removes your Bami's passive. So all the other Frostfire and Sunfire, they both, if you stand next to them, right, you'll burn them. But that's not how this item works. Once you upgrade it, it removes the Bami's, and you get this Chem Tank passive, which actually, if you look, it charges 5 every single time you auto, but it also charges a lot more if you move. So if you're actually running Chem Tank in the jungle, you're going to want to be, like, constantly kiting your camps to get the most effectiveness out of this item, right? Like, if you like to just stand there and, like, just farm camps, like, if you are going new Chem Tank in this season, you have to get good at kiting. Like, you will have to get really good at kiting, because the better you are at kiting, the more procs of Turbo Chem Tank you're going to get off in fights and while clearing, which means you're going to clear faster and, everything else. If you just stand still, once again, it's 5 every auto, right? Look, you're accidentally charging it more just by chasing Scuttle around, right? So the item is okay, and, there's things about it that are good or not, but you might say, oh yeah, it's really good with the new tank item. But let me also explain something about the tank tier item, Fimbulwinter, and its counterpart, Archangels. So it's kind of hard to do this, but I think I can actually stack tier. So let me just stack tier, like that. Then let's do this, then auto upgrades, great. So this item gives you bonus health equal to your mana. It gives you 15 ability haste, 860 mana, great. 400 health, great. Immobilizing or slowing a champion consumes mana and grants a shield, absorbing that mana's worth of damage. The shield is increased, if there's more than one enemy nearby, great, right? So, if, you wanted to see what that would look like, it would look something like this. Teleport, here we go. Where did I drop that thing? I don't remember.
Sometimes
What was it?
life is worth dying for.
You CC them, you're going to get a nice little shield like that. See that shield? That's basically like 1 W's worth of shield, right? Okay, fair, right? It's a decent shield. You can get it if you look at how often it goes off. You can get it once every 8 seconds in these fights. And note that you have to slow someone to actually get this. So if you use Turbo Chem Tank instead, let's say you miss your stun and you use Turbo Chem Tank, you can still get the shield from that. And also if you have red buff, alone,
A little something from Taric.
I'm just gonna prove it to you here.
Never ends. The best weapons.
If you have red buff, that should also proc it, because red buff is a slow, right? So there are lots of different ways to proc this item. But is this item actually good? Well, there's a few things to think about first. One, that shield can proc one time, like it can proc every 8 seconds. If you really need HP and they don't have that much like max HP damage, like something like a Vayne, something like a Lilia, then it's going to be a great item. However, there is a counterpart that is actually somewhat better, and that is the new Seraphs. New Seraphs, look at this. 80 ability power, mana of course, a little bit less HP, but the Awe gives you ability haste equal to bonus mana. So you're basically, if you buy this, I'll show you if I buy it, which I should, but comparing it to this item right now, the main thing that Seraphs doesn't have that Fimbulwinter does is HP, like flat HP. Like you lose maybe 200, 250 HP, something like that. Like, it could be more, but still, the only thing you're really losing is HP, because when you look at this ability haste that the item has in its core, Awe already like covers that. But the passive is so much better. Restore health equal to 35% of mana spent, up to that much per cast, right? So that means that you can't with Fimbulwinter, it procs every 8 seconds. But if you get Seraphs, right? Can I?
Money well spent.
Stack tier, please. Thanks. Oh wait, it's already stacked. Cool. And then let me actually go fight something that could deal damage to me.
Easy on the eyes. Don't I?
When you spend your mana, well, maybe this is a bad example. Oh, here, we'll just watch this. So the base healing of Q is 128 at 2 stacks. So watch this, right? And watch this at the same time. So see that extra 28 you're getting every single time you use an ability? That's coming from Seraphs. And that adds up. And don't forget too, Seraphs has AP in it. Not just the HP. It has AP, which is obviously increasing the power of your shields. Not by much, because, Taric's Q AP scaling isn't that amazing, but it is really good because it has that, health refund. And think about it like this. Fimbulwinter consumes the mana when you use it. It actually consumes the mana to give you that shield. Seraphs doesn't. Seraphs literally just spits it right, like it spits the health right at you. So, the biggest drawback is that Archangels is 400 more gold in cost, right? It's 3,000 versus 2,600. So you could compare, Fimbulwinter is a worse item because of that, but, it gives you HP and it's 400 gold cheaper. So, both are great. But here, one other thing you have to understand is that if you are having problems scaling your tier, Once you upgrade to Fimbul's approach, you get ability or attacks to gain bonus mana, while Archangel's is still just abilities. So obviously Taric has a much easier time if he can just strike a target with an attack to stack his mana charges, but, you know, you won't get that ability with Archangels. So you might as well, if you're picking up one of these tier items, it's going to be 3rd or 4th, maybe. Right? Depending on your lane, if you're a support stacking tier, you're going to have an easier time stacking tier. If you're in the jungle, you're going to have an okay time, but if you're top, it's going to be very hard to stack tier. So that's something to stay aware of, is that it will be very slow to stack tier just because of how Taric works as a champion. Now, let me look at a few other items here that I should definitely cover. Items like the new MR items. So there's new Force of Nature, and then there's new Abyssal. And then I would even say, isn't there one more? What am I forgetting? I feel like I'm forgetting one. No, I guess not. I guess just to compare Visage to them, right? So new Abyssal and new Force of Nature. They are very, very, very similar, right? So something to understand, I guess, is Frozen Nature or Force of Nature is going to give you, flat MR at all times, and then of course it gives you movement speed. And after that, if you're fighting for a long time, you're going to take 20% reduced damage and that movement speed, which is going to be really good. Like I think that Force of Nature in general is going to be better than Abyssal, but it is 2,900, and this item is 2,700, so it is 200 gold less. And with it, you don't get nearly as much MR, but you basically get it because if you curse nearby enemy champions, you reduce their MR by 5 plus 1% bonus health for a max of 20 for each curse enemy you gain 7 magic resist. So you will steal their MR from them, which surprisingly can be really good. If you have an AP comp and they're not like building any MR for some reason because they're like a bunch of squishies, this item is really good. Like, it's actually surprisingly good. This is an old Abyssal Mask. It's not like Seraph's. It's not refunding your mana or anything. But, this is surprisingly good and surprisingly cost-effective. So, it's hard for me to say when you should go one build over the other. Because, like, if they have, like, a lot of AD damage or true damage and you need to pick up one of these, it really depends on the threat. Because so many AP are like, let's say they get Liandry's, right? Which one of these is better against Liandry's? Well, hypothetically, Force of Nature is better against Liandry's because it has higher MR and lower HP, right? But it's really a toss-up. I guess I'll have to get a lot more experience on these two items to say. Plus, here's the other issue, right? With Visage. Visage is good, and still healing power is good. Because if you're picking up that Seraph's, any kind of Visage or any kind of extra healing power is going to increase that,
question is unique for each
the effectiveness of your Seraphs. And I want to talk about Glacial too, but I think it makes more sense if I actually just go into a game with Glacial. So let me do that just while I'm ranting. Maybe I should have got my thoughts in order before doing this, but it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Let's load up the Taric Glacial runes now. So Glacial's basically the same, right? You're still gonna run, you could choose boots or timing or hex flash, whatever you like. Biscuits are still pretty important. You still want biscuits. And approach velocity, you could argue. I feel like there's an argument now to where you should take Cosmic Insight in the jungle over approach velocity, even if you have Glacial, because of the fact that currently, like, let me explain it like this. Old Glacial, you could walk up to them, you auto attack them, and then you chase them and like just autoing them until they have to burn their dash, and then you stun. The issue with the current or the new version of Glacial Augment is the fact that it's not based on your autos at all. You just have to land your stun, and you're not Udyr, you're not like Thresh or Leona. You don't have point and click CC or easy to land CC to where Glacial is immediately going to be effective. If you miss your stun, Glacial is not going to do anything. This is the problem with the Aftershock build and why you don't go it, because if you don't land your stun, you're doomed, right? Like the rune will not do anything if you do not land your stun, which means you could almost, hell, I was wondering, I haven't tested it, but I was thinking you could even do like a frost, not frostfire. Why can't I think of what its name is? You shoot out a ray and it stops people. It's not frostfire. It's like I want to say Evan Shroud, but that's the new item. Everfrost. There we go. If you run Everfrost, that CC from Everfrost, just like before, is going to proc Glacial. Or it's just going to help you land your stun. And, you know, Glacial has some extra things in it. So, this is probably going to be the more supportive rune. You could still take this top. You could still take it jungle. You could take it support. You know, in fact, I would be amazed if anyone's not taking this versus something like, you know, Guardian. Like, I would rather have you go Predator right now than Guardian. It's been nerfed into the ground so hard. So, it shoots out 3 glacial rays, and then just look at that slow amount though. The slow amount says 35%, but it scales on AP, it scales on AD, and it scales on healing power. So if you pick up, like, look at this. If you pick up this alone, like, look at what happens to glacial. Gets an extra 5% slow because you picked up a healing item. You know, let's say you're going full support Taric and you picked up this, and then you were like, oh yeah, let's go the other really good healing item and go this, right? And let's say you went like support items, or if you were support or just were a support in the jungle. Like, look at this slow. It's now a 55% slow. So if I just, you know, pretend that I'm full build, which I'm not, but point is that I don't really know how to explain that. Yes, this slow is ridiculous, right? I don't have a bot to like run away and see, and I can't like, I don't think I can check the base movement speed of a bot, right? Like, it doesn't have any move speed. So I can't show you how much it's actually doing. But I'll just show you this. So, yeah, Glacial, it can proc once every 25 seconds. And so, how many times are you going to get this off in fights? Probably once, right? You're probably only going to get this off one time in a fight. And it shoots kind of weird. Like, I think I figured it out. It will shoot towards your teammates, right? I feel like it does that. No, well, okay, maybe I should reset cooldowns. Does this actually do what I think it does? No. Oh wait, wow. Reset cooldowns doesn't actually do that. Here, so let's try this once. Okay, so that was a total lie. It doesn't actually shoot towards your teammates. But does it, like, it shoots towards other enemies regardless if you don't fire on them. Like, here, let's do this, right? And then let's just wait out. Sorry for the, you know, elevator music, I guess, but the glacial, like, it shoots out in a weird way, especially if you only hit one target.
A little glimmer.
Right, but look at that. That's pretty clear what it wants to do. Right? But like, if you do something like this, here, watch. If I hit this stun this way, I think a ray is gonna shoot here, a ray is gonna shoot here, and then a ray is gonna shoot backwards into me. So one ray is gonna go from here to here, one ray is gonna go from here to here, and then the last ray will come towards me, I think. Oh, well, okay, so it ignored, it straight up ignored this dummy. Maybe it's just not close enough?
True gems sparkle even in the absence.
Because, like, you want to be able to, okay, what if I'm standing in the middle? Maybe if I stand in the middle, it makes, like the targeting on this glacial is kind of, I've been trying to figure out how it actually works. But, okay, it just ignored this one. It, like, do all the glacial rays shoot off of the first target you hit or the closest target to you when you proc it? Because, I don't know, it's just kind of... Here, let me stand closer to this one, but I'll hit the other one. Like this. Okay, so it still wants to shoot towards the ones that are near you, but okay. Yeah, this basically the targeting is weird. So if you can hit multiple targets with your stun at once, it's going to be better because it's going to give you Glacial that's in better spots. But, you know, the clear is about going to be the same.
Eternal,
And the
so
items, you know, like I said, you probably can go those AD, PTA items like, you know, you can go... If you were going the lethal tempo, you'd go something like Gore or Eclipse, or Shirelia's is still going to be good. Even Shroud's going to be good. But with Glacial, you could potentially go Everfrost to make sure you're landing that stun. Or with Glacial, Turbo Chem Tank is going to be good. I think mostly Shirelia is good, though. You like even Shroud or Shirelia is one or the other. Because, I mean, Chem Tank is good, but I don't... It's weird. This item, I don't know if this is either like giga busted or really bad. Like it's one or the other, and I can't figure out which. So this one needs more thoughts and more testing. But with Glacial alone, probably just like Shirelia. Just imagine Shirelia's plus Glacial, right? You're gonna. They will be slow, and you will be fast, right? Like that's just kind of how it works. So this is going to be like the insane movement speed build as you go Shirelia's. And also, wait, no. There was another item I forgot. Okay, let me focus on legendaries a little bit. So, one thing I didn't say about tier is that this item gives you a shield, and that might be bad because this item now exists wherever it is. This one that pierces shields. So if they have shield piercing, you might want to not go shields. But this is the more important one right here. This is what I meant to talk about. Knight's Vow. They have reverted Knight's Vow to its Season 10-ish, effectiveness, right? To where your worthy ally is nearby. They redirect 10% of the damage they take to you and heal for 8%. They basically reverted this item to what it was in Season 10. And in Season 10, you would basically go... it was at the end of Season 10, there was a Shen jungle meta, and Shen would basically do nearly the same build Taric would do, where you would go Cinderhulk into Knight's Vow, and you'd put Knight's Vow on your carry, like if you have a Vayne or whatever, right? And then they would just 1v9, and you heal from their damage that they deal, right? That's the important part. That's why Season 11 no one built this item, because they removed that. Now, once again, it doesn't just redirect the damage. You heal for 8% of the damage dealt by your ally. Like, before it was just, like, a parasitic relationship, right? Where the, Vow would literally just make you take more damage for nothing, right? You were redirecting it, sure, but you weren't getting anything out of it. Now you get a heal off the damage they deal. And you know what? I know a friendly dummy is not going to deal any damage, but I would like to pretend that they deal damage. Show you that they will take less damage. Oh, or maybe, you know what? Wait.
Don't I
Minions? No? I thought that was going to be cool, but... Okay, alright, never mind. Just imagine that they can take damage. And obviously Taric can redirect the damage. What I wanted to see was, it does, like, the Season 10 version would redirect the damage as true damage. However, that is no longer mentioned in this item. And that was a huge problem for Taric since he's a tank, right? Building things like Frozen Heart right away. So, this item could come back. This item could be very good. And, a good build for Glacial could be, either in... You could do this in Lethal Tempo. You could do this in Shirelia's based on the matchup. You can rush Frozen Heart. Then you can go into your Shirelia's. If they're that full AD attacking comp, you do that, you get your Shirelia's, and then, you have tier, maybe it's half stacked. You can look to go, you could probably go Vow, you can go the MR items if you need them, you can go, the tier tank item if you want to finish it off, third or fourth, that's totally up to you. With a build like this, I'd almost say, you want to go Archangels, because, once again, don't forget, it has hold on, fully stacked tier please. The Glacial Slow scales weirdly off of different stuff, and since it scales off of different, why will you not upgrade? Okay, whatever. It even has a little bit of extra slow on AP right? You're not getting that much out of it, though, with AP. Because, look, you have AP from Shirley's, and you have AP from Seraph's. You have, like, 100 and, like, yeah, you have a ton of bonus AP, but you're getting, what, 3% extra of a slow? So, like, with Glacial, you kind of want to go one of these really good healing items, right? You're going to want Redem.
The mountain makes
Hell, I would
beautiful
say
things.
even you might want to pick up an early Redem. Like, if you're... Like, there's so many different combinations. I'm just like... I'm almost still lost, and I maybe should have prepared this video a little bit out more, but... yeah. I think really that's about it. I'm kind of worried about this item's existence. Like, hypothetically, yes, you could go this item on Taric. You could ult to start a fight, and then if there's one ally left and it's you and them in a 1v1, you could ult again, and then you could use your ult a second time, right? This item is not balanced. They need to nerf the shit out of this item, like, right now. Like, on some champions, I saw Kha'Zix use it. He literally ulted, like, three or four different times in the same fight. So, yeah, no, this item is not balanced. This item will get nerfed. If they don't, they're crazy, but it is Riot Games, so, you know, that would not surprise me if they just left it as is and made Kha'Zix the most busted jungler in the game or something.
Why is it
Right.
always the ugly ones?
But yeah, no, healing power plus Glacial is good. New Knight's Vow is good. One of the biggest inherent issues that these new tier tank items are going to have is just the fact that there still isn't items in the game that actually give you mana. Like, look at this. Look at this. Legendaries. Oh, the tier items. Okay, Frozen Heart. Okay, Zeke's. Then what? Okay, this is mana refunded, and this is all mana regen. There are 2 mythics. 2 of them that give mana. That is it. So if you're trying to stack, you know, mana for the mana benefits of Winter's Approach or Archangels, it's not going to be that easy, right? Like, you need to actually get your, like, look, there's, like, you might as well go. That's why I was thinking Everfrost could be a build, because if you go Everfrost, you're also getting mana. You're getting flat mana, and that helps you scale with your Winter's Approach or your Archangels, right? And plus it helps you land your stun. So I'll really have to think about Everfrost Glacial jungle build, because, like, what? There aren't, like, they still haven't they made these new tier item. Oh, great. You know, oh, woohoo, another tank item that scales on mana. Oh, wait, just kidding. The new Archangels is actually better than the tier tank item. And, or, there still isn't mana items. There's not one item in the game that gives a mana and magic resist. How have you not made an item that gives you mana and magic resist at the same time? Like, it's crazy. These guys have no idea what they're doing. It drives me insane. But, yeah, no, I've basically talked about everything that I want to talk about. Let me just look to see if I'm missing anything. Oh, wait, yeah, I haven't talked about this. I haven't talked about tank items that much. So, a few things I do have to mention about tank items. Frostfire, it has now damage on hit. That is great. If you like building Frostfire, that's great for you. I still think that Frostfire still suffers from its inherent weaknesses of you have to get close to them to actually use the item, right? Frostfire is great, but only if you can get near them. And, you know, now that Glacial doesn't give you an on-hit slow, Frostfire could be better for that reason, right? Frostfire gives you that on-hit slow, so, you know, it could be good. Actually, I'm kind of looking at Frostfire to be better than last season because of the damage on hit, and, you know, it gives you that on-hit slow that Glacial is missing. So that's a possibility. This item is possible. New Chem Tank. I showed it off before. You're going to have to really be good at kiting your tanks to use this or you're going to have to be really good at kiting with Taric to use this item effectively in the jungle so you can get as many procs of supercharged off as possible, because otherwise, if you're just standing still, this item is actually garbage, right? If you're kiting well, this item is good. If you're not, this item is garbage, simply. And then Sunfire. And I have to go into the specifics about Sunfire because I've seen this comment and I have to mention that it has been tested. I'm not going to do the testing. Well, I could, but I'll explain it to you because it's a lot easier to explain, I think. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should show it because it's going to be hard to explain or hard to imagine what I'm talking about without watching it. So, Sunfire, right? Great.
Strike
Here it is.
swiftly.
If you had lethal tempo, you're thinking, oh, lethal tempo is going to be busted on this item, right? Because at maximum immolate stacks, your attacks burn nearby enemies for immolate damage per second for 3 seconds, right? So that makes it sound like, oh, this is like Bork. This is like Wit's End. The more I attack, the more damage I deal. That is not the case. That is absolutely not the case. When you have this immolate stack, this flame touch, right? And you attack more. Here, let me even give myself some levels here so I can really attack. And you're looking at that. You're looking at that little flame thing it's giving off. Look at this right here. Flame touch. This unit is taking extra damage from being on fire, right? So it has that even after I leave. So that's not from the Bammies. That's this flame touch bonus damage. But it's not adding a stack of the buff. It is simply refreshing the buff that exists, which means that it doesn't matter if you attack once every, if you are attacking really fast, it doesn't matter how fast you attack. You just have to attack them once every 3 seconds, right? Like even with this terrible amount of attack speed, it still doesn't even get to half. So this is an item that was meant for tanks. It was not, this item is not meant to be built by somebody with a lot of attack speed. You could argue that, tenacity and health, and you could, like we used to go builds like Sunfire Bork or Sunfire Wits, but it's not as good. It's not as cost effective. So I really don't want people to be tricked into building this because they think lethal tempo is going to give ridiculous damage from Sunfire. It's not, because that's just not how the item is actually built to work. So that's something to keep in mind there. Titanic might come back because if you go, a lot of these tank items, you want damage. Titanic is going to be great for that. If you're stacking HP and you have, tier items that are stacking HP and giving you bonus HP, and then you have, you have something like Frostfire, which is also giving you HP. Like, I could probably imagine, like, you could go, hell, you could probably go, like, a no-resist build where you're going, like, well, it has resist because of Frostfire, but, like, Frostfire, Night's Vow, Winter's Approach, Titanic. Like, that would be kind of nuts, right? If you went all these items at the same time, I mean, I'm not going to really show off anything, but it would look something like... What am I forgetting? Oh, Night's Vow. Yeah, like, you would be massive, right? And your autos would deal a ton, too. Your autos would, like, they would cause an on-hit slow, and then, of course, you are going to be really good with the glacial setup. You can't really see it now, but once you have Titanic and Glacial at the same time, you are going to be doing ridiculous damage to groups of enemies with this kind of build, right? You slow them all at the same time, and just imagine this like dream scenario where they're all slowed and you're just wailing on them. It could be really good. It could actually be really good, but it's going to take a while. And the Knight's Vow is, a supportive item. Don't forget about this. Don't forget about this part of Glacial, that it reduces the damage dealt by 15% against your allies, not including yourself. Not including yourself. So, this Glacial is going to reduce the damage of anyone slowed from your Glacial slows to your allies. So if you land your stun on anyone, they're going to immediately deal less damage to your allies, but not to you, right? You are going to be the target. And as a Taric, that's not very, that's good, but that's also very bad because there are a lot of items that can just one-shot my champion. So, you have to be really careful, but also, this could be, a build like this could be really good. If you are, maybe they don't have Vayne. Maybe they don't have Lilia. Maybe they have never heard of Bork before, right? I feel like I'm just ranting at this point, so I'm just going to take one last look at the item shop before I, forget anything and need to go back. basically you're never going to build Randuins anymore. You could argue that you can, but you're always going to want something like Frozen Heart or Thornmail, right? You're going to want Frozen Heart because of mana, or you're going to want Thornmail because it's anti-healing, right? The only reason we went Randuins was for the active slow on Glacial, but that doesn't exist anymore. Like, you don't need any active slows, so goodbye, Randuins. We don't need you anymore, sadly. This item is going into retirement. Redem is going to be really good, especially if you're going Glacial. Frozen Heart Rush is going to be really good still. I mean, hell, you could go... You have a full AD team and you don't want to go the Ardent. You go Titanic Cleaver. Go crazy. But that's like a full item build, right? That's like a last item maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of different really good options, and it's gonna take more time and more gameplay. Like I tried Chem Tank with Dead Man's Plate and Force of Nature, and it was okay. I feel like the scaling on Chem Tank's movement speed is not that good, and the reason it's not that good is they're scared of recreating the Turbo Chem Tank Hecarim meta. So the scaling on this item for movement speed is not that good, right? It's mostly just based on your level. Yeah, sure, 1% of your HP and 3% of your movement speed, but like it's not that effective. Like it's good, but it's not that crazy, right? I feel like for Deadman's to come back, you would probably need another buff on it. For it to actually resume its power, because you're probably, like, if you're picking up your armor item, it's probably going to be Frozen Heart or Thorn, right? Probably this item. Like, I'd be amazed if you're going tier and you're not building Frozen Heart. You're probably like, no, I don't know how to say this, but it feels really bad to build Frozen Heart once the enemy has their armor pen, but because you have tier and tier item, you know, both options for tier items, Frozen Heart is going to be pretty good, honestly. Like, it's... I don't... It's hard for me to say, but, like, in a lot of times, if I want to pick up armor, Frozen Heart is going to be the best bet. You know, even the Zhonya's build, right? You'll think about, like, the Zhonya's build will help you early, for sure. Like, don't get me wrong, like, Zhonya's is still a great item. You've seen many times where I've done with it. Done great things like alt stopwatch, but it's not going to help you in late game as much as something like this. So that's all, and I'll be researching it a lot more. The preseason opens today, so I'll be trying out everything I can. So I hope you've enjoyed this explanation of my thoughts. So yeah, TLDR, definitely try Lethal Tempo and Glacial. They're both kind of busted. All right. Peace.